All right, guys, this is Irene C. Bismeet of Faith, Love, and Trends, and it's all over. It's the Never Ever Met Season 2 reunion. So we start off with the couples that left early. Everybody had their own challenges or whatnot. But again, this reality show is based off of couples that have had a relationship online, some for several years, some for months. And they get a opportunity to meet each other through this experience in this house, and they all kind of meet up together and see if the IRL experience matches to online. Should this be taken further into everyday life? Again, this is season 2 of the Never Ever Met. Kind of gets mixed reviews. A lot of people aren't watching like some of the other dating and relationship reality shows, but I have to say that the reunion was probably better than the whole show itself. Some shows I would just like watch the reunion and not even waste my time watching the whole season. Just wait till the reunion, tells you everything you needed to know, recaps it, gives you all the juicy bits. I thought it was worth watching. I do feel like it was a little short. I feel like we could have got to delved into a little bit more, but I was ready for it to be over, guys. Anyway, let's start with Alicia and Irvin. Alicia was kind of known for gaslighting. As she was talking, the guys were speaking up on Irvin's behalf, and she told them to mind your business. She wasn't playing. She was putting people in their place, and the men were definitely uncomfortable with it. And even I think some of the women, especially Jay, she had something to say about all the women on some level. But she said he kind of let the house rule him and control him of how he related to her and dealt with her. And he says, you just really weren't who I thought you were, and you weren't making me happy. They kind of talk about this episode where she said she felt unsafe and how she told him that she felt unsafe. Then she told him to come back. So she was kind of giving him mixed signals here. And she did admit that she handled that situation badly and she could have done something better. As far as the way that he was representing how he felt about her and who she was and the situation, she said basically she was too good for all that, too good to be treated a certain way. And Jay had to speak up and say, we know. And she said, well, you're extra. And then Alicia says to Jay, you're also extra. But, she said, I'm going to be the most extra person in the room, is what Alicia says. She was asking, am I wrong, ladies? And most of the ladies was like, you're really not wrong. I mean, you deserve to be treated a certain way. You shouldn't have to take certain things. But she did have an attitude. We all can say that. They asked what their dating status at this point, and he says he's dating his ex and it's good. Somebody chimes in and say, you lying. It's definitely questionable because he didn't, even though if he was really happy with his ex, he didn't really have the excitement behind it. He didn't have the extra story. He didn't have nothing to say behind it. But all he said was it was good. It wasn't believable. And Alicia says no, she's not dating. She's waiting for the best man, the man that's going to treat her and talk to her right. And I understand Alicia. I would like to follow her. She is kind of messy. And she is kind of stubborn on some level. I understand to a degree how she doesn't want to be disrespected and mistreated. But then she kind of don't know what she wants in the interim. And you can tell by the way she expresses herself. So I think she need to figure out really what she wants. And any man that deal with her, he's gonna have some hurdles to jump. He's gonna have some puzzles to solve when it comes to her because she is what she is. But some men like that challenge. Again, he said she really wasn't making him happy. And the ladies, especially Tati, chimed in and said, you really shouldn't expect somebody to be responsible for your happiness. You kind of have to be happy when you walk in. And I agree on that scenario. All right, so we have playing Tati, the next couple who left. And he was hiding the fact that he had a kid. And we know that Jared and Charlie both had some extra kids on the side, and Charlie more, but they had just told each other in real life when they got there. But Clay was keeping that secret for Evs. And then when his friend, who's another young lady, comes through the door, that actually breaks everything. And it opens the door. You know, he said he was going to tell her when his friend came, but like, is his friend more than his friend? Which is what I was wondering and everyone was wondering. And, you know, when she came and gave Clay a hug and everybody in the house saw, they were in the house making fun, recapping and reduplicating the hug with each other and just making this big deal out of it. And they kind of had Tati shook. And Clay said, you know, it really wasn't that big of a deal. That the situation was blown out of proportion. I'm sorry, the reenactment of the hug was quite funny that everybody was doing. But Clay's like, he wouldn't change anything. He had a 10 out of 10 experience. He's still trying to get with her. He's still trying to get a hookup. He's still trying to get panties. I mean, again, I've said that before. I don't know if I should say that, but he's still trying to do that. He's being too nice and saying, no, I wouldn't change anything except, you know, I wish things would come out better, I guess, but everything was okay. And he was happy with everything. I think he was trying to show Tati he was happy with her. Whatever. Chris takes up for her and says, you know, she's a certain kind of woman. You have to treat her a certain type of way. Because they did talk about her just going off at that moment. She's like, yeah, at some point I just went off because everything was building up. From him lying about being vegan, for this hug scenario, other things, and then finally the fact that he has a kid that he just now telling her he just had a new kid. So yeah, I can understand the build-up. But Chris, you know, takes up for her again and says, yeah, basically she is a nice young lady. You got to talk to her, speak to her a certain way. And, you know, I'm seeing some grins. He's grinning. I'm seeing Tati grinning. I see some chemistry between them. Not really sure when or how this happened, but it seems like the house all kind of saw that there was some vibe that they were having with each other. And Clay is kind of jealous, but he really has no reason to be jealous because we find out, you know, where we at now is he supposedly has a girlfriend, but the way he told Tati was, it was kind of open. He was unsure and unclear. Right now, I believe that she said she was actively dating right now, but he supposedly have a woman, a girlfriend. So he sounds like he's a serial monogamous, but not. He sounds like he may always have something on the side. I don't know. And he's trying to bring Tati back over to the side with him. Whatever the case, she's dodged a bullet. Brittany and Ty. Her issues were that he was not paying her enough attention and catering to her like said he was gonna do while they were talking online. Then when he started doing that, she said he didn't respect her boundaries and became too physical with her. And she said one time he slapped her backside so hard and made her teeth clap. And, you know, all the kissing and stuff, she told him while they were online that, you know, she has certain boundaries that she doesn't want crossed. And maybe I assume that was just for a certain time period, but I think communication was lost when they actually met up and he did start being physical with her. But she was trying to keep the peace and she didn't tell him that she was not trying to do all that, even though she told him online. But when they were in real life, she didn't reiterate that, hey, I have these boundaries, you know, step back. And she was trying to keep the peace and keep him happy, keep everyone in the house happy. And she made that mistake. And it's recognized and everyone says, especially Toronto, you know, you need to keep your own peace and set your own boundaries and just stand on that. Brittany said what she had to say. Of course, Jay and Brittany got into it over her man Cinco and how she was showing a lot of love to him and just dismissing Jay. And Brittany was like, hey, it wasn't about Cinco. It was just that Jay is basically rude. When I first came in the house, she didn't even speak to me. And some of the other ladies said the same thing, that she really didn't speak. And then, excuse me, and then Jay said, well, maybe because she's an older woman and the older and the younger people don't get along. And so Brittany was like, you wish you would make it to my age. Basically, it became old. Now she's trying to make fun of her, trying to say she's an old head. But it sounded like it was some level of confirmation that Jay was rude. She definitely has her eye roll game locked. Happily, Jay and Cinco are still together. They're still working out their living situation. Her son loves him. And she said he's a good man. He stands on what he says, and that's a beautiful thing. He actually has a basketball contract pending, so he had to leave the show early to get on a flight to possibly try to get this contract. So we hope him the best. And is Jay going to be a basketball wife? I think she kind of fits the bill from what we've seen from some of these reality shows and all these housewives and basketball wives. So it'll be interesting to see if they go further. Because she said when they first started talking, he said he was serious. He's done. You know, this is it. He wants a relationship. So she found a good one. Everybody doesn't. Some still, have games to play. Speaking of games, they had a little reunion game. And the one question was asked, who's the peacemaker? And Cinco, of course, got the resounding win. They mentioned Jared. And I think they mentioned Chris. But everybody mostly said Cinco. And Cinco was the person of reason in the house. I do have to give him credit. You don't see a lot of black men in that light. We see that he's a good man, true to his word, and he tries to keep peace, and he tries to be level-headed. He always tries to be level-headed and relate with everyone in the house respectfully. It's good to see that there are Cincos around here, guys. And I like this question. There's if you switch couples, who would you switch with? Brandon and Charlie are vibing each other. They actually supposedly make waffles together every morning. I'm assuming they're doing this online. I'm not really sure if they're face to face, but they're supposedly be having a friend crush. But it could be more. Kiki said she would switch with Chris. Chris and Tati both said they would switch with each other, so that's giving people a vibe that, hey, did y'all doing something? Some people wondered who was trying to hook up with somebody else's person when they left the house. Still not confirmed, but Chris and Tati seem to have some type of a vibe between them, definitely. Jared and Alexis. Jared said Alexis, but I think he just said that to be funny because he knew she was complicated. But I think that Jared has something going on where he likes a challenge, even though, Charlie was not much of a challenge. So I guess he's going to try to level up and really get a challenge when it comes to Alexis. But, Alexis would have nothing to do with him, especially after seeing what he did on the show. Seriously, I don't see how anyone would have anything to do with him unless they're playing him because of his 5 minutes of fame on this show. And they want to say they hooked up with him, but I'm sorry, it's not even worth it. Alexis said it would be Brandon for her. Again, Tati and Chris and Clay speculates that Tati and Chris have something going on. So in between Tati and Chris's vibe, Alexis says, let him send you a down there pic and you'll be all right. So she's trying to insinuate some things down there are not all that great. I think that was kind of rude, but it's a precursor to let us kind of know what their relationship status is. Even though they walked out of the house together, they ended up not being together. She needed time to think and process on how she was feeling about how he received her, but also how he had a lot of trauma and issues and things and hurdles that he needed to cross, and she just didn't feel like she was able to deal with his trauma. Basically, it was supposed to be a mutual breakup. They were asking why was he holding back on sleeping with her, and then he said something about being a grown man, and that, you know, basically she was gonna go tell them in the house, tell all the other girls or whatever. I don't know if he was holding out for Tati or I don't know what, but I think it's kind of smart to not do whatever at the place because yeah, people will know your status of your physical status, and you know how she rates him. The whole world gonna see how she rated him in the bed. So honestly, it's actually the best move not to do that, because the whole world gonna know your business, and if it's something negative, even if somebody else might like it, that person doesn't like it, then it's like a stigma on you, and people gonna make fun of you forever. So that's what I'm thinking. People gonna question you forever, because you was on that show and the girl you was with said he was just all right. But Kiki said she saw something going on with them. They weren't clothed. Don't know everything that they were doing. She mistakenly walked in on something she didn't want to walk in on. She didn't sneak in, but she stepped into something she didn't want to see. And even Jared said the same thing. Something similar. And also, Chris's comments were, yeah, we weren't really fighting for each other to really make it last. So it was something that just kind of came and went. We didn't really fight for it neither one of us. So it just really wasn't meant to be. And Chris just out of nowhere is chiming in about, not Chris, Clay is chiming in about Tati and Chris and all of this. And he's just still getting upset over something that he doesn't have a chance with anyway. Hopefully Tati would never give Clay another time of day, but he's acting like that's still his girl. And, they kind of asked him, would they be together? He said, I read energy and I do like her energy. And everybody's like, well, why do you keep asking questions about them? Like I said, you already with somebody, so why are you in their business like this? Alexis says she's dating right now. Chris says he's working on himself and keeping his mind open and keeping the door open for Tati. I could see. With Kiki and Brandon, they didn't get really too deep into it. I don't even recall what their relationship status was at this time. I know that Brandon's supposedly looking at Charlie, but we don't know how real that's gonna get. They talk about her drinking issues during the show, and everybody was saying, well, Charlie, the girl you're trying to look at now that was on the show, she was probably drinking more than Kiki was. And he's saying, well, that was a different situation scenario, and she was wondering if they are together and booed up. But to me, I feel like the jury was still out on that. There was no definitive answer. But he said you should have been upfront earlier when it came to still being with your ex, because you knew that was a deal breaker for me. And if you would have came up with that earlier, he would have been out the door faster. And she said she really considered him her BFF during the time, and she, I guess she wasn't really ready to let go of the relationship she was in. And I can't remember who said it, but somebody said, isn't your best friend the person you tell everything to, even your secrets? Why do you lie to your best friend? And you don't lie to your BFF. Your BFF knows everything. That's true. So she definitely had thinking that this was going to be a relationship and was trying to set it up to be so at some point whenever she was ready to let go of her ex. Charlie and Jared, last but not least, they were kind of the main event for me, as well as I'll say Clay and Tati also. And then Irvin and Alexis, their thing was kind of funny as well. Because they were having issues early on. We kind of knew anyway with those two it was going to end. But Clay and Tati and Charlie and Jared, I think they were the main events. Kiki and Brandon had their moments as well. But Charlie was still looking traumatized after, they should play the clip back of what happened. And he said that, her intimacy, her bedroom intimacy checked boxes that normally weren't checked. So it's like they were asking, why were you still trying to talk to her after she heard about all the kids, and why didn't you just be upfront with her? And he was saying basically what she did in the bedroom is basically what um made him keep coming and made him keep trying to be with her. Is the bedroom took up all the slack of what she so-called lacked. And sadly, I think that that's kind of what people do think about that. You know, they're like, well, they're good in bed, so I'm gonna keep working with them and keep dealing with them. I think he just really did that because he wanted to see what she was in bed, and then he wanted to just capitalize off that as much as he could. He's in a house where he's supposedly getting to know someone that he can go into a boom boom room with. I mean, he just basically took full advantage of the scenario in a negative way. He wasn't an honest, he wasn't a real man. He was the complete opposite of Cinco. And then she talks about how she never asked men for anything to take care of her kids. She could take care of her own kids, which I remember her saying that during the show, that she has money, she has a house, she has also, like, you know, their own dads could take care of them. I just want a husband, or not a husband. I hope eventually that's what she means. She just wants someone that loves her for her, and that they're going to be in a relationship together. Of course, the kids are going to be a factor in it, but she's like, you don't have to worry about paying the bills for them and raising them as their father, because they do still have their fathers in their lives. So I get where she was coming from there. Jared didn't have much to say, but she did say he was sending her mixed signals a lot. And as far as her getting friend zoned or whatnot, I think somebody was saying, you know, he said you could be my BFF and my soulmate at the same time. And they were saying, yeah, it's possible, but once you have sex with that person or sleep with them, you have to take them out of the friend zone at that point. But you guys know friends with benefits does exist. So she really wants answers, you know. She really wants answers at the end of the day. And everybody's saying, well, you seem like you weren't really accepting Jared's explanation. Are you continuing to kind of hold on to this relationship if you still want? And then they said, you know, Jared, you have to be clear. If you don't want her, just straight up tell her you don't want her, so she can let go of this. But a lot of guys do this. They try to hold on to you, put you in their back pocket. And I've been a victim of that as well. You know, we're still friends, and if the guy seems nice enough, okay. But this guy basically raked you over the coals, Charlie. I mean, I don't know why. She's like, she still loves him, so I don't even know if Brandon has a shot, because she's still deeply in love with this man. It's been 4 years. It's kind of hard to break that bond, but she definitely, the way that he was treating her, that should have broke something. The fact that she still has her mind on him to that degree, to me, it's not healthy. And realize you deserve more. I think Taronda was telling her that. And he finally said, you know, all right, I'll be upfront with her, tell her, you know, have a nice life, nice knowing you, goodbye, basically. And then she said, well, thank you for your honesty and for finally being truthful about how you feel. Give me a clear answer, basically. And he was like, no problem, if you ever need anything. She's like, see, there he goes again, back and forth. Girl, just let the dude go. Just let him go. Not worth it. He likes to play head games. I'm sitting there looking at him. There's a look on his face. Something's different in not a good way. And he's reading super narcissist here. He needs some help, some direction, and he needs a therapist. He doesn't need a boo, and he definitely doesn't need you, Charlie, because you probably need some therapy too after all he put you through, and probably some of your past relationships as well. So that's it, guys. That's the end of the Never Ever Mess. That's the reunion. We get to see everybody's status. And Jay and Cinco are the only ones that made it out unscathed. Alexis and Chris, they went out the door together, but the relationship did not continue after that. And it looks like we're done. We'll be talking more faith, love, and trends right here on CBiz Media. This is Irene. Email me at cbiztv@yahoo.com. Any thoughts, comments, questions, check us out on our other platforms at cbiztvmedia.com. And we'll talk again later. All the best. God bless.